know they did it then? Where's that evidence?
Oh, that evidence is in certain texts that I draw upon. But I want to say, Art, that there is not a great deal of written and textual evidence about what the pagans knew. There are two reasons for that. One is that most of the evidence, most of what they wrote, and they did write a tremendous amount, they filled libraries, in fact, but most of that literature has been destroyed. Only certain fragments remain that we can say came directly from the hands of these initiates.
So if you go all the way to Belgium, I take it you're looking for that hard evidence, right?
I am indeed, and there's a library not far from where I am right now that is a world-class library that has facsimiles of the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Gnostic library, and things of that sort. I do a fair amount of my research over there.
What did they believe and know?
Well, what I've discovered mainly, Art, is that there was a special group of these pagans who were called Gnostics. They seem to have my textual sources for the text evidence on the writings of these Gnostics, which, as you probably know, were discovered in December 1945 in Egypt. What I've put together over a period now of more than 20 years is a picture of their understanding of the cosmos. They were cosmologists. They had a sense of the history of the solar system that we live in.
Which matches our modern understanding of it?
In some remarkable ways it does. Indeed it does. In fact, it matches some of the latest and most fascinating discoveries of modern science regarding, for instance, the structure of our galaxy, the position of the Earth in the galaxy, and various conditions that might have occurred that produced the formation of our world, you know. The Gnostics were known, by the way, this is no, but also to evaluate correctly what they were seeing. It's a very important point you raise. In fact, you're actually asking, well, what is the reliability of this evidence they provide?
Well, yes, by asking how they discerned aliens versus what you would have thought they would have come up with would be some sort of religious manifestation of some sort. Yes?
Right. Well, they did consider that aliens are involved in the religious life of humanity, but they were very, very specific about these particular aliens that they describe in the Gnostic text, of Nag Hammadi. They call them archons. I don't know if you've crossed that word.
I have archons, is that correct?
Yeah, archons, A-R-C-H-O-N-S.
Got it.
So their view of the archons was very elaborate. Believe me, they had, first of all, a cosmology. They had a whole we know now was actually formed into an environment where we could live.
Yes.
That the solar system was formed around the Earth rather like a crust. They distinguished between the inorganic nature of the solar system and the organic nature of our planet, the Earth. Now, of course, this corresponds to what science knows today. As a matter of fact, it's the basis of what's sometimes called the Gaia hypothesis.
Yes.
When James Lovelock developed the Gaia hypothesis, he was struck initially by the fact that Mars doesn't have a biologically alive atmosphere, but the Earth does. Why is it that the Earth is the only planet in our solar system that seems to have a biologically alive atmosphere? The explanation that the Gnostics gave to that was that the Earth is not exactly really a part of the solar system. It's more or less kind of captured in the solar system. And that the chemistry of the solar system is largely inorganic. Wow, the chemistry went into great detail. It is absolutely astounding what you can extract from these 52 fragmentary texts.
Will astound me, for example.
Well, for example, you just asked the question regarding the ancient knowledge of the cosmos and, how does that correspond to what we know today?
Yes.
Well, one of the words that occurs frequently in these Gnostic texts, which are written in a language called Coptic, but it also has many Greek words in it, is the word pleroma, P-L-E-R-O-M-A,
yes,
which actually is translated as the wholeness or the fullness or plenitude. And pleroma was the word that the Gnostics used to refer actually to a galaxy, what we today would call a galaxy.
yes.
Because a galaxy is a wholeness, it's a self-contained world unto itself, a cosmic unit. Now, of course, with the Hubble space photographs, I think everyone has been dazzled by this image of galaxies scattered through infinite space like seeds. The Gnostics actually describe this in some of the Nag Hammadi texts, such as the Sophia of Christ is one text, or the Eugnostus, as it's also called, talks about the infinite plenitude of the galaxies. To get to the second part of your question, how precise were they? You know, the more I study these materials, the more I am impressed by the specificity of what they had to say. For instance, when they talk about these Archon aliens that are a species of inorganic being involved with us because they inhabit the solar system, but they are not inhabitants of the Earth as we are, they were speaking from an understanding that these Archons arise in very specific conditions having to do with our solar system in our galaxy. And solar systems are formed and evolved constantly. But our solar system was born in this galactic limb that we inhabit. At a certain moment in the early part of its formation, there was a plasmatic surge. And that plasmatic surge swept over the forming solar system and produced this race of Archons. It produced this premature species, in a sense. That's exactly how they describe it, and I would say it corresponds very closely to what some of the more advanced astrophysicists are working on right now.
So, would you describe it as the energy of destruction and creation, or would that be correct?
You could say that. It is both very destructive. Obviously, the potential for such a spike of energy. It's as if, the thing that we could perhaps compare it most to would be some massive, this species, which is described exactly by the word anomaly, our word anomaly. It's an anomalous species. And the species of Archons came to inhabit the solar system before the Earth evolved into the form in which it could support human life.
Right.
I mean, this is a very, very sophisticated cosmological picture these people have. And to those, people who would doubt, or listeners who may be saying, well, how is it possible that they could have known such intimate details of physics and astrophysics, which is something that I've asked myself a lot too, because I came to these studies with, I think, a healthy sense of skepticism as well. It's my understanding that yogis and shamans through the ages can develop powers that are equal to the powers of technological instruments. They can see, for instance, Amazonian shamans, as you probably know, who explains their behavior, explains how they're menacing, how they're threatening. They're kind of like described as bullies and push people around. They don't ask for permission to intrude on our reality. All in all, the Gnostics concluded that these Archons are a predatory species. And so I would be a little careful with equating them with angels, because, the normal association we make with angels is that they are perhaps emissaries of the good God.
Yes, but there's some angels that didn't exactly toe the line, as it were, and they were in fact casted on out for exactly that reason, right?
Well, that's right. Well, legends that you find in mythology regarding the fallen angels, the Watchers.
You really think that's an appropriate description as cousins?
I'm not sure. I'm not entirely comfortable with that. But I think that we do need to recognize that there is a certain kind of kinship, because they belong not to the Earth, again, I emphasize this, but to the solar system. And the Earth belongs to the solar system. So you put that together. Somewhere we are related to them in a cosmic sense.
What about their motivations? What are they after? What do they want? Why are they here? They're still here today, right?
They are still here today, and they've been here for a very, very long time. As to their motivations, well, that's one of the more fascinating points that comes up in Gnostic writings.
Presumably, if they wanted us dead or gone, we'd be dead or gone.
Well, I have to make a cautionary remark there.
They envy what about us? Our love, our passion, our ability to think, and what?
All those things, but probably most particularly they envy the fact that we can innovate, that we are driven, that we are goal-oriented, that we have the passion to explore and innovate.
He's a fascinating guest, Art, but I have a question. Is the text that he's speaking of tonight subject to interpretation, much like Nostradamus' text, where different people translate it differently, or is it specific enough, John, that what you're telling us is absolutely verbatim? It's not what you thought you would find, or what were your expectations when you began this research?
Well, that's a beautiful question, Art. Thank you for that. I had the good fortune of coming across Gnosticism and the subject of the Gnostic teachings and the mysteries, pagan mysteries, when I was quite young, around 16 or 17. I was deeply intrigued, but I didn't really know how to get into it, you know. It seemed like a very remote and strange world. Mm-hmm. And I did come to Europe for the first time when I was about 19 or 20, and I did kind of stumble my way into a number of ancient sites, and it affected me very deeply, but I couldn't articulate what I was feeling. So when my question... That's right. You're absolutely right about that. And this is such an important point, because I think that to really get the message of the Gnostics about alien intrusion, we need to see what it says and what it doesn't say, to see what it tells us and what it doesn't tell us. There's hardware and there's software. The hardware is the flying machines, the discs, the cigar-shaped discs, whatever you want, the Pleiadian light ships, whatever you want to call them. And as a matter of fact, there are many pagan sources of reports of this hardware, but not in the Nag Hammadi material.
Or perhaps even utilize them as a source of some kind of energy. Who knows?
Well, this is another thing. The Gnostic texts are specific in saying that the archons feed on fear.
One man believes in no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and now, no tax on overtime.
The people who work overtime are among the hardest working citizens in America.
They feed on fear.
And that is textual. I'm not extrapolating that or making that up. That is textual.
They feed on fear. To study it? Yes, I understand. To study it or to utilize it, I wonder.
In the abduction, for instance, being sucked out of a room and into a spacecraft, defy the laws of physics as we know it, right?
Correct, yes.
According to the Gnostics, this ability for HAL, or simulation, is the highest ability that the aliens have. They can, in fact, induce a virtual reality situation. We know now that we might be able to create a virtual reality. I mean, we're playing around with it, right?
Yes.
I believe that there's probably a technology that would allow you to put on a virtual reality helmet and gloves and stand in a box, and almost as understood by these pagan shamans and seers,
yes,
there is the real zinger that remains, and that is the interbreeding question. And so what I would like to do, I have a gem here that I'd love to share with you. This is also from the Nag Hammadi text, and it's from a particular document called On the Origin of the World. Now, this document uses a slight bit of mythological language in that it refers to Adam and Eve. Now, I think we should understand that Adam and Eve, by Adam and Eve, it means the human ancestors of the human race, that's all. Our genetic parents at some earlier time. And the passage describes the attempted approach of the aliens to our parents. And if you will, I'd like to just read this passage.
Let her rip.
The archons came to Adam, and when they saw Eve talking with Adam, they said to one another, "Well, what sort of thing is this luminous woman? For she resembles a brilliant likeness we saw a connection, perhaps, and caused phenomena to occur in the mind-body zone that perhaps make these events happen. I'm sure these events are very real. I have complete respect and compassion for the people who experience them. At the same time, I follow the Gnostic view that all this is happening because there is some alien force intruding in our minds that is so affecting our reality that it makes us believe things that are not so.
All with the goal in mind of taking the energy from the shock and the wonderment and the amazement of this event that they've created.
Exactly. Isn't that how envy works?
Well, I guess it does work that way somehow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
And yet we know also that envy is ultimately very frustrating, you know, like I might envy Brad Pitt, you know, but if I was able to take over his life and be in his place, I wouldn't handle it very well because I'm not Brad Pitt. And so this is pretty much the situation with the aliens. They are not us, but they would like to become us. And we may give them the opportunity to do so, as you very, very astutely observed, you know. No chance.
You know, technology is fantastic. Here you are in the United Kingdom. I'm in St. Louis right now.
Particularly the internet is the more I've understood, is a wonderful symbol for the nature of the reality we live in. We live in a holographic internet. Just as you can log on to the internet with a computer in China or America or Germany or England and share what is the same reality, so it more and more seems clear to me that what we're actually doing through the DNA, which is a crystalline receiver transmitter, the brain, is logging in to a holographic internet and turning waveforms, broadcasts, like the television broadcasts in waveform and the television turns it into pictures. We're turning them into holographic pictures, holographic reality, and believing it to be solid and real. And that's the key to holding us in prison, believing an illusion is real.
You know, David, I've been looking at your works for a number of years now.
I mean, you know, where do I go from here? And then within weeks, another massive area opens up, and you think, oh, crikey, here we go again. So, you know, reality is not only infinite in its sense of existence, it's also infinite in its possibilities. Therefore, anyone that gets themselves in a state where they think they have sussed it, where they think that they now understand fully what reality is and what possibility is and what's possible, they've just built themselves another prison a bit further down the road from someone else, because all possibility means all possibility. So where are the rules in all possibility? There are none, except those that we invent for ourselves and imprison ourselves with. The electromagnetic spectrum is about 0.005% of what is predicted to exist in the universe by mainstream science. And even that is only what they understood exists up to this point. And visible light, which is all that we can actually, quote, see, is a fraction of the 0.005%. So what we've got ourselves into is a situation where, unless we realize the nature of reality and what we can access with the five senses, we are going to have an amazingly perverted view of possibility and therefore dismiss that which is happening, but we cannot actually perceive with the five senses. And this is why, George, society is structured to hold.
All right. It's going to be a real quick little talk. Of course, yesterday, we all know what day it is. It's Friday. It's November the 1st. Of course, yesterday I said I might come on out, get some arms and or shoulders. And so I did. I come out, got arms and shoulders, not much, not a whole lot to be said about that. It's, pretty straightforward. no pre-workout, no shake or anything. So I'm gonna just see that? Look at that bounce here. Anyway, no pre-workout. I don't have any shake made up or anything in there. I'm just gonna go in there and eat. Old lady cooked, so I'm just go in there and feed these hopefully gains, small gains, any gains will do. Hopefully feed them with a little home cooked meal in there. Of course, I stayed hydrated out here with my copper water there. So yeah, man, I was pretty happy with that. Got a nice little pump. I can feel it, you know, even I can't see it through the shirt, but I can damn sure feel it, you know. But tomorrow I'll be back in here at some point for a workout. Won't be in the secret location. So tomorrow I'll be back here at some point. I don't know if it'll be early, midday, or maybe later on in the evening, but I'll be here to do something. Till then, folks, man, enjoy your night. Take it easy.